Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the GSoC meeting. Today we have a special session about the Plugin Installation Manager project idea. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, do you see it? Okay, yeah, just a really quick introduction. So we have a project idea for this year, which is related to improving Plugin Installation Manager. This is a continuation of the previous work we've been working in the Jenkins community, including GSoC 2019, when Natasha Stopa actually created this plugin. And there were a lot of improvements. And now we have basically a wide open project idea, which suggests doing some improvements in the tool. And if you go to the tool, you can also find that there is quite a number of open issues there, including various feature requests, bug reports, etc. So in our proposal, we basically offered students to take a look at the backlog to find areas which are interesting for them, including UX, backend, whatever, and to come up with a proposal. So yeah, this is the context. And we have several students reaching out. So today we just want to discuss any kinds of questions and topics related to this proposal. Yeah, I think we can start.
So like I would like to go first if no one has issues. So yeah, like Oleg, you mentioned one thing about the BOM, like bill of material and the infrastructure about that. Like, what do you think about that? Like you also mentioned that we'll have to, I think, make some changes in the Jenkins infrastructure to expose that or host that, like the metadata of that. But like, can we discuss it over here? Like, what are your views?
Yeah. So just to clarify why it's important. It's one of the tickets in the story. So currently there are multiple ways to provide versions, but generally you end up with such a definition where you specify what plugin to install and what version to install. And the problem that if you define version, you would have to maintain it somehow. So there are tools which automatically update versions. For example, we widely use Dependabot in the Jenkins project. We also use Update CLI created by Oliver Werner. And yeah, there are other projects like that. But at the moment, there is no project which would support this YAML format. There is a project which supports plugins TXT, it's a text format, but not this one. And the idea was that, okay, why do users have to manage these plugins at all? Because we have another component we created, which is called Jenkins BOM. So basically, it's a bill of materials for plugins, which includes a set of plugins for different Jenkins LCS baselines. So we don't provide it for weeklies, only for LCS. And therefore, basically, we have regular releases, which provide a set of plugins which has been cross-tested using standard Jenkins tools, including plugin compatibility tests, etc. And how it looks for users, basically they get a list of versions of something like 100 plugins by now. And these versions, at least they give some confidence so that they're compatible with each other. So it's not like it's fully guaranteed compatibility because we don't use, for example, acceptance test harness, web UI tests, and other bits, but it still provides some level of confidence. And the idea what if users use these versions, so that, for example, if you do not specify a version here, and if you add additional setting like version source, Jenkins BOM version, whatever, just another definition, that plugin installation manager would go check versions of this bill of materials and use these versions as default ones if nothing is specified. So that's the idea. What I mentioned in the ticket while we had a discussion, I mean, in your proposal, is that if you want to read these versions, you need to read them from somewhere, because currently
exactly
targets Maven. So it means that if you go to repo Jenkins.io, it's basically a Jenkins Artifactory instance provided by JFrog and which is used by the entire Jenkins project at the moment. So here you can find this BOM, and basically it will be POM XML if you're familiar with Maven, which you can read from there as a developer. And when we refer to these bills of materials in our Maven definitions, we actually read from there. Okay, it was a bad idea. Well,
Okay.
you can find it there, but basically it's just POM.xml file with resolved versions and with unwrapped dependency list because there is some inheritance there. So you get a plain POM.xml, something like, let's say that, but yeah, with all the versions attached. So this is what Jenkins build flow uses. If you want to use it in a plugin installation manager, you would need to somehow retrieve this file or to maybe read it from a different source. And hence I mentioned that it might require some changes in the Jenkins infrastructure because it's really a question of how you want to serve this file.
So like how you mentioned from whatever the J, I think you mentioned J file, a website where you went and like you searched it now. Like there was one website which you went, Jainfra, I think, some website which you visited and like directly you could see the BOM XML of BOM over there.
Yeah, so you currently can see it here.
Yeah. What's the name of this repo.jenkins.io? Okay.
Yeah,
So
you
like,
can find an exact link if you want, but it's there. Just a second, let's take a look. So it's
so like,
IO Jenkins tools BOM.
okay. So I mean, like, don't they provide any kind of API or something like how updates.jenkins.io provides a JSON metadata kind of thing? So like, don't they provide anything like that? Artifact repo browser.
Not in a format you would use for this tool. Of course, you can just download the file from there,
Okay.
but it has obvious limitations. So yeah, if you just want to download it, it's definitely possible. I think I'm looking in the wrong tree anyway. But yeah, so what you can get right now, well, unless you find something I'm not aware of, is that IO Jenkins tools BOM, and there is no tools because yeah, I'm looking in the wrong repository, I guess. Okay, yeah, it should be not in public; it should be in the releases. So
We'll have.
yeah, I haven't drunk coffee yet. So Jenkins tools BOM. So
Yeah.
here you can find the baseline switches. For example, this is the last LTS. And here, for example, version 27 is the latest version. So you get this artifact. I will just put it to meeting house. Use the document we use for office hours.
Like if I hard code the URLs, then it will be like very hard. Like every time new BOM release comes out, we'll have to update it. So kind of we'll have to think something new. Like what is the like what changes in the infrastructure like what you're suggesting? I mean,
Okay, so
creating something like yeah.
if you're fine with this file, you can theoretically just download it from that URL. So yeah, it causes some issues which need to be discussed. For example, impact on Artifactory if the tool is widely used, because Artifactory is really designed as a build tool, not the user service.
Okay.
So it means that we don't provide the same level of availability as for other services. Well, we don't guarantee everything. Thanks to JFrog, it works perfectly, but yeah. So you would also have to parse this format, etc. So there are some hidden obstacles. If you go to updates Jenkins IO, I'm still screen sharing. So here you can find basically the site. So it's yeah, updates Jenkins IO /download. So this is basically our download site where you can find plugins, where you can find Word files. This is the mirror, and this is highly available infrastructure. So if you just post bombs there in some format, then you would be able to retrieve this metadata and serve it quite reliably. And also, yeah, there are update centers. So, for example, yeah, let's just go to this Jenkins IO again, and here, for example, there are configuration files being served. So, just yeah, now we have a bit different front end there. So, sorry. So there is example of one of metadata files we are serving, and actually there are a lot more different items. So here you can see that list, for example, we serve information about updates, also information about recent releases, plugin versions, etc., which can be retrieved. And then there is information needed for Jenkins plugin site, including documentation, etc. So it's also referenced somewhere from this list. So yeah, this is a metadata we include, and actually we serve more metadata. But yeah, this is a part of our infrastructure. It's what Jenkins uses. So it would be fine if a plugin installation manager uses it as well. But in such case, you would need to do updates if you feel it's important.
So like just adding, look, I mean, communicating with other members like who are involved with it and on the community and like taking their feedback, what they think on it. I mean, just adding one more thing, one more option of bomb will not affect or like harm or break anything, but well, like it is the part of further discussions, you know, like if like what you suggested to include bomb as an option over there, that will be like, then we can directly use the environment variable which we have set for the tool, and from there on like we can access the versions of the plugins, right?
Yep.
Like I think that will be so
yeah, there are multiple ways how you could do that. So for example, yeah, one of I just provide an example. It's not something I advertise for, and it's up to you. But for example, plugins YAML. There we can just take something like version sources, for example, bomb. Yeah, I just provide an example, so it's not something like you would like to follow. Baseline 2.2.27 version, let's say 27. Okay, you could do something like that, and then you could say that, for example, Git plugin is listed in BOM. So here you can just keep Git. Here, for example, for Bitbucket branch source, the same for Docker, same for script security. You could just keep it like that. And for pipeline steps API. So unless you override it, you could keep the format something like that. You have to keep jump import plugin because it's not included in the BOM. So again, it's just an example of how it could look like.
Yeah, like how the user can input the like give the plugin.yaml, but the processing part. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's up to you to design how to look like. If you do it before the final proposal, it's great. If you don't, okay, it can be discussed later.
Okay, okay, I'll try. Like I don't like. Okay, I'll see. I'll see. You are active today, right? Like you don't have any as like you'll be like if I post my link again, you'll be you provide the feedback as soon as possible because today is the deadline and I didn't want to like extend this thing to the last day, but I don't know why it happened.
Yeah, so my recommendation would be to, of course, submit your, sorry. My recommendation is to submit your proposal as soon as possible.
Yeah,
I cannot guarantee that I will be able to review anything today because I have meetings starting in 1 hour and a half. After that, they will be more or less back-to-back ones. But yeah, it's up to you. I just have provided some information which I can share.
All right, I'll try. Understand. Thanks for that. Yeah, one more thing. I have discussed this before as well, but I just want to make this thing clear. There was one time I mentioned about the Jenkins folder. Did you remember that issue where we provide a feature to the user? Wait, let me. Yeah, add support for generating a new plugin file based on the current Jenkins folder. So like this is the issue, and I have very vaguely discussed or mentioned whatever I want to do in the proposal. Yeah, this and not this one.
Yeah, it's actually the previous issue. I'm just adding the sample here.
Oh yeah, that is good.
Yeah, so, and it's something I recommend to everyone. If you see any discussion comment in public, you can just discuss it there, because this is usually related to project.
True, like that way everyone will be updated with what happened.
Yeah. Uh, okay, so something like that. Okay, so you're asking about generating list of plugins from the folder list, right?
Yeah, so that folder is basically some directory that where we downloaded our plugins, or like I think you did mention this in one GSoC office hour, but I tried to find it but couldn't find it on YouTube. Something happened, I don't know. Some office hour was missing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Regarding this one only. So, what is the Jenkins folder over here? Like the plugins directory, or you did mention this, but I forgot it somehow. I don't know.
Okay, let's take a look. I'm
Thank you.
not sure. I'm not sure whether I have something, but most likely I do. Okay, what do we have here? Okay. What? Okay. So let's see what is that. So it's basically it's packaging definition, I believe. So there is no Jenkins workspace. So let's see what we have in temp. Oh, no, it's not something we need. I'm just trying to find Jenkins, which I would be able to use to discuss, because I rarely deploy Jenkins in a classic way these days.
So, like, are you looking for a Jenkins instance where you can find Jenkins folder? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I found it. So it's just whatever I think from development. It's 2 years ago. That doesn't matter. So yeah, here's a Jenkins Home. So it's basically a root directory of what Jenkins exposes. And there we have multiple folders, including one called plugins. So yeah, here you can see, okay, this is empty.
Okay.
Okay. So we will need to find something else. Okay, let's just go to whatever development folders.
Like, what will be there in the plugins? .hpa or .jpi files? Like those files will be there.
Actually, it depends, because Jenkins supports both formats.
Okay.
So usually they will be GPA files, but in some conditions there might be HPA ones as well. Yeah.
So, like, just those things will be there, no? Like, other than that, nothing is. Like,
Sorry?
like, I mean, just those plugins will be there, no? In the plugins folder. Like, other than that, there will be not something which I have.
No,
I
there are
should
other files
assume.
which might be there. Again, I'm
Oh,
just looking for an example. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
let's
Okay.
just do a clear demo. Okay. So what I'm going to do then, reconcile, should have done it earlier. Okay. What's going on? auto completion works differently. Okay, so we
Windows.
downloaded Jenkins. Let's create a work directory, and there. Okay, so something like that. So I'm just going to start. So yeah, I'm starting a new version of Jenkins. Again, I don't have any other reasonable terminal on this laptop, so yeah, I'll just open another console. We call it plugins. Okay, so you can see the Jenkins instance is starting, so we will install a few plugins. So while we wait, are there any questions specifically about this project idea? So I know that Vandana and Aditya have different questions, but yeah, just in case I'm missing something.
Well, I'm just trying to understand like what exactly is the purpose, like what things we are trying to add into this project, like as in terms of plugins. Like you were explaining something about BOM, which is an existing dependency, I guess, because there's a BOM.xml already existing. So we need to like what is the, like, in short, if you can give a one-liner, like what exactly is the use of this project? It's like doing an installation or something, like what it does actually.
So this plugin, so it's not a plugin, it's a CLI tool which allows managing plugins for Jenkins, but without starting Jenkins. So basically you can do it in a CLI mode without starting Jenkins with your configurations. And then you just get the plugins you need. Is it clear enough?
Yeah, somewhat. I'll just go through the documentation. I think you have shared links there, so I'll just go through that again. And I think there's already an existing code in which, on top of which, you are trying to add more enhancements to this project, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So
And like, just want to clarify for that participant thing, like you're saying, for participating, we have to submit a new project, or we can be part of an existing projects which are there posted on the homepage of Jenkins.
Okay, we can discuss it because it's a wider topic. Okay, it's still starting anyway. So we have a number of project ideas. Again, these are project ideas. So we encourage students to explore them and to come up with their own project proposals. And this project proposal might be based on one of this idea or might not. It depends on you. So you can come up with a completely original proposal. And yeah, then we'll basically review that, decide whether it's feasible for the community, whether it's feasible technically, etc. And yeah, then decide which projects we accept. So it's a long explanation. It's a short explanation of a long process, but yeah, you can submit any application related to Jenkins.
Okay, so basically to participate, it's like necessary to submit a new project. Or that's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, so there are application guidelines. So GSoC, here if you go to the documentation, information, application guidelines for students, this is the same, more or less the same guide as you would get on the GSoC website, but there is some additional information. So if you follow this guide,
Professional, not a student, or like.
Sorry?
I'm a working professional, not a student.
Okay, then you cannot be a student, you can be only a mentor. And yeah, as a mentor, you can join any project.
Okay.
So if you're
Is
interested
there a
to be
deadline or something, like to join as a mentor, like you have to submit, or like you have to raise a pull request or something?
For mentors, there is no strict deadline. So mentors can join the project at any phase. But if you're interested, my recommendation would be to reach out to the community as soon as possible, because today is the deadline for student applications. And after this, we will start some proposals and form and implement teams.
Okay, so so just two more questions. So how do, like, suppose I go to the projects, how do I contact the relevant people which are part of that project? Like, is there any Slack channel for each project which is ongoing, or or is there any other communication channel?
So for that, you can see that on many pages of Jenkins, you have a connect button on the right, and sometimes in the description. So here, for example, if you go to project ideas, if you're interested in Plugin Installation Manager, we discussed today. So here you can see that there is a description and also contact links. For example, we use platform-sig as an umbrella special interest group for this project. So here you can see the mailing list, Gitter chat, also regular meetings we organize. And so you can use these links in order to establish a contact with the community.
Okay, got it. So as a mentor, we'll be able to raise pull requests, like we'll be able to contribute as well, right? Apart from guiding the students.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And well, you can contribute at any moment. Jenkins is an open source project. There is no restrictions from contributing. So if you go to Plugin Installation Manager tool, there should be even contributing guidelines in this repository. I believe we created dedicated ones, maybe not. Maybe not, but yeah. So basically, you can just submit pull requests.
Okay, sure, got it. Thanks.
So it applies to any repository in Jenkins. You can just create your submissions. Okay, you can see that there is ongoing installation. So let's see what we currently have in the directory. Sorry that everything is so slow. That's why I use another computer for development. Okay, and you can see the layout of this directory. So you can see that installation is still going. But here you can see that there is a number of GPI files. These GPI files basically represent plugin packages. And then there are also folders. So these folders basically provide unpacked plugins. It's needed for better performance on startup. And also class loading happens from basically these folders. So, and here you can see that there is basically an exposed plugin, including some manifest, metadata, and the jar files if needed. Jar files is basically, well, it's just the Java binaries themselves. The rest is metadata. For example, this is a plugin manifest from which we extract information about versions, dependencies, etc.
I see. So like what Tim has in that issue, what Tim raised, he he wanted the tool to go through this folder and generate generate whatever is in that folder and print it out like in the three formats which I have mentioned. So that was
right.
the.
So basically, take this folder, scan it, and generate a plugin installation manager configuration file representing the state of this folder. So just read all plugins which are bundled, extract the versions and information, and provide this metadata. So it's not something impossible, because again, you go to any plugin, there is meta information, there is manifest, and from this manifest you can discover group ID, which is needed for some configurations. You can discover artifact ID. Well, it's just folder name, but also here you get the plugin ID. Or short name is always a plugin ID. Plus, there are other things you could use, but basically you just process archives and extract this manifest file or parse that and then generate the resulting file.
Right. And the main purpose of this is to pass it as a configuration or support what I would say
So
for the task purpose, right?
Yeah. So basically, it's a feature for configuration expert. So you use this plugin in order to extract the actual list of plugins on your instance, And then, once it's converted, you can start using the Jenkins configuration as code. Well, basically the same plugin installation manager, but in the installation mode.
One more question, like where, like this is this folder? I mean, what I should say, constant, like not constant. I mean, specified, like its location is specified for every every installation, like every instance at every computer, like wherever it is installed Jenkins. So it's the plugin folder? Is its location? I mean, constant, or it varies depending upon where the user has installed his instance?
Okay, so it depends on how you use Jenkins, because if you use classic Jenkins, it's more or less fixed. It's a Jenkins Home, and there is a plugin directory. But if you use Jenkins in other flavors, for example, Jenkins File Runner, it's a fast capability for Jenkins, then this directory may be located somewhere else. So yeah, my recommendation would be to parameterize it.
So like for the starting purpose, like for the initial state, I should like ask the user to provide me the location of this folder. That will be a good way, or no? Okay, okay, cool.
So basically, it's also a question of parameters you would need to pass.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So yeah, you can
okay, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, sorry.
So my recommendation, again, is probably a bit too late in the current stage, but yeah, you can just play with existing Jenkins instances and explore how plugin directories are generated. Because yeah, this is a most common example. But for example, as we discussed, instead of GPI files, there might be HPI files in some cases. Then in some cases, these files actually represent directories. So font awesome API will be GPI, but it would be directory instead of the archive. Because at some point, somebody decided that it could be a better option for performance because you don't need to process these files. So there are many such edge cases we can discuss later.
Sure.
But yeah, so this is the basic format.
All right.
Also,
I was also like, yeah, please.
Also, there is an opportunity to disable plugins, so you can add additional metadata file, like for example, jdk2.gpi.disabled, and then this plugin will be disabled and not really installed. So these cases is something you will need to process eventually.
Okay. I was like, I was saying that I was also looking at the demos of GSoC, like how I can use, or how this tool, like the output from this tool's YAML file can be used for. So I was also exploring about GSoC, and I'm like currently doing that in this time. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this. And I also came across there's one open pull request still, like the pull request is still open for the logging part, like it's titled as add login, and I'm also targeting that. Like what I don't think like there's much progress in that. I mean, it has been dormant for some time. So,
I would say so.
like what?
Okay. Okay, we can just go to the code again. So plugin installation manager tool. So if you look into the code, so we have two components. One is CLI and the one is library. All interesting code is in the library at the moment. And there, for example, we have implementation, and there is plugin manager Java. It's main class. It's quite big, but yeah, you can. So there is a lot of opportunities for refactoring, actually. But here, for example, if you talk about plugin, you can see that main. So yeah, a lot of logging happens through system out. So basically, you print directly to std out, and it's not a good practice for system logging because there are existing frameworks and APIs for that. In Jenkins, historically, we use Java util logging. So it's a part of standard Java. So it's available basically with any distribution, and you can use that. So for example,
I
here
think
we have some examples. Yep.
Natasha had opened a pull request on that, like logger, like she created something, but in pull request in the plugin installation manager only, there's a pull request open.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you
So I
can
mean,
see.
what happened? Like why it was not completed? I mean, what were the issues? If you can tell me, like I can avoid those in future.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a good question. So what happened? What I could say that it just wasn't finished. So some
oh,
messages are quite straightforward, so they can be converted. Some yeah, it needs discussion because, for example, there is option info. So basically, Natasha generates a single entry to log it. It's quite possible, though it's probably not the best practice, but it's possible. Why didn't we merge that? That's a good question, most likely because of the timing. It was quite late in the GSoC phase, and no, it was actually quite earlier, but it has never been finished. And we haven't merged it during GSoC, then we had merge conflicts, and finally now we finished that. So it would be nice to get it over the line. It's relatively straightforward. So it's about refactoring a big chunk of code. But if you want, you can actually take this pull request and analyze that. So you can take a look that, yeah, so there are some differences. So resolving the merge conflict might not be that trivial, but it's possible.
true. Like, yeah, I can definitely look into that. I'll do. And like she also mentioned something in her comment, like something about levels, like level dot fine and all. I mean, she said that some messages were out, like some messages were printed, some were not because of the levels and some issues in that.
Yep. So it's one of the features of system logging, because you can define which logging level you use for particular
4 levels,
message, and then depending on how logging receivers or listeners are implemented, this message will be either printed or not. Well, because logging receivers might be completely different. It might be console output, file output, or writing to whatever external logging storage. And you can set up what logging levels they process, what logging classes they process. And basically here in this interface, you say, for example, this message is a warning, or this message is a severe error, or this message is information, so just for user information, or you can at other fine-grained levels like debug, etc. And then based on this level, this message will be either printed or not. So basically, when you work on this change, you would need to determine what is the kind of this message and to set appropriate level.
Oh, okay. I was like going to, I was like going to do that, like evaluate what are the levels of the messages. But yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so usually it's quite straightforward. There are some disagreements even in the Jenkins code. So sometimes we change login level for particular messages. Yeah, it's just a question of setting something initial, and the default behavior will remain relatively the same while we use levels up to info, because these levels are printed by default if user doesn't configure the login system.
Yeah. No, like exactly, like one has to decide initially, and then depending upon the behavior or the receival of the, like depending on the feedback, it can be modified later on. But yeah, for sure, first we'll have to select one level. Okay, and yeah, like I had these questions for now, and I think some of the issues that I have selected are pretty straightforward. For example, this logging one, and these are like, but some are little bit complex in my opinion. I don't know how, like Pico CLI, I have got the reference of your Jenkins file runner, like you have implemented that, you have migrated that to Pico CLI from Arcs4j. So I've got that reference. I'll like definitely make a POC of like I'll definitely create a workflow of how what option should I start with for the PR. So I'm working on that for the migration. And the logging one is a little bit simple. I mean, do you have any suggestions for me to like for the proposal, anything like that, which you would like to say, or like, yeah, and any advice? Like that's it. I don't have any questions now. Just the
So regarding
feedback or anything.
advice, yeah. So your proposal is quite reasonable in terms of the scope. I mean, yeah, there are multiple tasks, but yeah, all the tasks have value for users of this tool. So I think it's okay, and it's be reviewed later by the mentors. So again, you have a lot of opportunities to improve that. For example, to think how you configure that, what would be the formats, for example, for this bomb sort, etc.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the scope of issues is generally fine.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. So that's all. That's what I had for. That's what the reason I had to ask for this meeting. My doubts are clear.
Yeah, that's okay. And yeah, if we can continue, so if there are other questions, we can discuss them. I have maybe other 15 minutes, maybe more if needed. So just to finish questions about mentoring, are there any other topics you would like to discuss or clarify? The question to Vandana.
So most of these projects are like Java specific projects, or it is like a mix of all tech stack. It can be a Node.js or anything.
It depends on the project. So this year, I would say that the majority of projects are about Java. So you can see that there are skills to study and improve, and you can find skills just here. And they
Okay.
include technology topics. But yeah, Jenkins ecosystem is around JVM. So basically, you can pick whatever JVM language you would like to use. And yeah, some projects they are not targeting Java at all. For example, Kubernetes operator is written in Golang, and there are many other components in different languages.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey Oleg, Aditya here.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I discuss about semantic versioning plugin for Jenkins now?
Yeah, let's discuss that.
Okay. So actually, it's more about the proposal than the project. So first thing that it's still in the draft phase. So I mean that won't be a problem, right? I'm asking this again. I know, but that is there, and I've pasted the link to my proposal in the chat. So if you could please, I have a few questions, and they're like you did review it once, and I think I've like updated my document based on all the reviews from you, Garrett, and Slidden. There are some comments that like, now that I have to submit this proposal on the GSoC page, what is better? That shall I keep the comments as it is, or like remove them, or how it should be when I
Up to
submit
you.
the draft?
I do not provide strong advice on that because actually the proposals themselves are still reviewed by the organization. So it will be the same list of mentors.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's better to keep it that way, right?
Yeah,
then
so
everyone's aware of the previous conversation.
Yeah, so basically what I would recommend, there are two approaches. So firstly, summarize the discussion in the proposal. So for example, if you came to an agreement with a mentor, or if you processed the feedback, added, for example, some bits in your proposal, or maybe if you decided not to follow the suggestion or whatever, just documenting, let's say, considered options in the bottom and whatever, putting it there. then you can resolve this comment because yeah, basically the discussion was closed and it's addressed in the project proposal. After that, there is no need to keep this comment. But if you leave it as a kind of open discussion, then yeah, this is a separate topic.
Got it. So I agreed with Gareth on the comment below, and I did the needful. So like I comment there that I have included in the sixth point, and then I can close the discussion. Is that what you're saying? Okay. And with respect to the deployment part of the plugin, where Gareth says that it is already done, and I'm still not sure that like how can I change it in the proposal to like yeah, I accept that, and but how do I reflect it?
And this one.
Yeah. So down below there is this stage where I've written like this is stage 1. So if you go to stage 3, I've written about deployment part, and I had a word with Sladen also with respect to deployment. He also says that it is too early to think about it, but what do I write here in the proposal then?
Okay, so yeah, let's define deployment of what, because we might be talking about the Jenkins release process, or we might be talking about how you would deploy it in pipeline. Because here you say that it's semantic versioning plugin for Jenkins. So my understanding that it will always run from within Jenkins, right?
Right.
Okay. So here we can take a look, write a Jenkins file and make the plugin ready to use in a Jenkins pipeline. So I understand what is this part, which is basically Jenkins pipeline compatibility, but I'm not sure what is this part, right? Jenkins
okay,
file.
so I might have put it wrong. What I meant there was like somehow I would make the plugin compatible with a pipeline. So suppose some other project which is using this pipeline, and this project is more like an add-on thing, right? So if you have a project and you want an automated semantic versioning, then you install this plugin. So it should be like, fitting inside the a Jenkins pipeline, like a job in the Jenkins pipeline. That's what I meant.
I understand, but yeah, I still don't understand this part. So basically, it's just Jenkins pipeline compatibility in the plugin.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe I misunderstood, but yeah, for me, this part just doesn't provide enough context. Okay, integrate the plugin in JEP 2 to 9 if it's used if Jenkins is used there, that's for sure. Write a GitHub Actions workflow to trigger a pipeline to calculate the next release version without explicitly installing a Jenkins plugin or using the CD tool. This part is quite interesting because basically here you say that you would do the same but without Jenkins. Do I interpret it correctly?
Now, with or without Jenkins is again a question here, but like this is something myself and Gareth we discussed that okay, if someone or say the conventional commits plugin GitHub, if I commit there or my PR is merged, then a GitHub action workflow would be triggered where this plugin will run and it can automatically detect the next semantic version.
Yeah, because why I'm asking, there are plugins which already provide support for semantic versioning in GitHub Actions. So my interest was to understand what exactly you plan to do. So because if it overlaps with existing plugin for GitHub Actions, then probably there is no sense in that. If it's just whatever integration between GitHub Actions and Jenkins, then we need to understand what would be this integration, because right now it's not clear.
Okay.
Oleg, can you share the link to the doc where you mentioned like whatever meeting notes?
Meeting notes is just a standard GSoC office hours doc.
Okay. To
understand. So, anything else you would like to ask?
Do you still have time?
Yeah, I have some time.
3 minutes. Yeah. So, like, can you just a little bit like tell me about the Maven repository? Like, what are we expecting? Like, whatever I have the idea is I know like the main initial idea or the inspiration was from the customer packager. Like, it does that, and some of the features we want to add in the
So, you mean Plugin Installation Manager? What exactly? Am I still online? I guess one should no longer online. This one? Is anyone else online?
I think we lost connection.
Yeah. Okay, let's wait a bit because I'm not sure what exactly the issue we are discussing right now. Okay, while we wait, are there any other questions?
So most of these projects are like basically improving the Jenkins model or something, because what I see is like the architecture which Jenkins follows, say like in my job profile we use Jenkins to do deployment of various applications. So whatever projects is proposed here, it's just like something improving the Jenkins model or something.
It depends. So there are multiple proposals. Some proposals are related to integrations with external tools. So for example, integration with cloud events, integration with Tecton pipelines, with improvements to Jenkins Kubernetes separator, also Prometheus monitoring. So these are about integration with external tools. Then there are some projects which are related to adding new features to Jenkins plugins. So for example, Git credentials, just improving how binding works, or working on a custom Jenkins distribution service, which is a separate project, but yeah, it's also a lot to be done there. And yeah, that's it. So we do not exactly improve Jenkins model right now in proposals. So we do it. We had some proposals related to past year, but yeah, right now it's rather practical changes which would provide some features expected by users or some integrations.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So yeah, in such case, I think we can slowly close down the meeting, and if anyone has any questions, we can follow up offline in the chat.
Okay.
No, that's not mentioned. Okay, so Thanks all, and I'll stop the recording. So if needed, please ask any questions in the GSoC chat.
Sure.
Okay,
Thanks a
thank
lot.
you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Alan.